Shalom and welcome to the Two Jews, 10 Opinions podcast. I'm Ailee Shanes.
I'm Levi D'Amato.
Welcome back, guys. We want to say thank you so much for listening to our first episode. We got a lot of praise from it. Friends, family, random people on the street.
A lot of people listened to it, gave a lot of feedback, so we're really excited to get back talking about the issues right now again. And today we're going to be talking about, is it worse to be a Bears fan, a Jets fan, or a member of the Jewish community right now? Just kidding. I don't know. I've been listening to a bunch of other podcasts like as a way of preparing for this, some of which are talking about these topics right now, antisemitism, the war in Israel, and I noticed a bunch of them have been starting with like little like stupid jokes and stuff and discussing like, is it acceptable to be making these jokes right now, but anyway.
Maybe in some of our more lighter topics down the road, jokes are being flying left and right, and right,
Yeah. But we are still in a somber tone right now.
And on that note, where do we just come back from, Levi?
Yeah, so today for a lot of the podcast, we're going to be talking about our experiences in Washington, D.C. We were there on Tuesday for the United with Israel march. We didn't even get the name right when we were previewing it either.
And it wasn't really a march, more of like a rally, because we didn't march anywhere. But
yeah, I thought we were going to march, but we didn't march.
But
it was great, though.
We're going to be talking about that specifically. We're going to be talking about how this march, this rally does impact, or why it's meaningful to college students around the country, Jews around the country. But we have a special guest today.
Yes.
We want to officially welcome from the Aural Account podcast, Miss Molly Seghi to the pod. Welcome, Molly Seghi.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Molly, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your podcast. Take it away, Molly.
All right. So, my name is Molly. I'm 19 years old from Hollywood, Florida.
Shout out Hollywood, Florida.
Shout out Hollywood, Florida. I have a podcast called An Aural Account, which is basically an audio diary for me. I kind of document conversations I have and interview people. I don't want to say it's a spinoff of the first podcast I had called Love Yourself Without Likes, but this gives me an outlet for creative expression and to just talk about what I want.
Molly, that's awesome. Thank you for being here, Molly. Levi, how excited are you to have Molly on today's podcast?
I'm really excited. I think it's good. Like last time it was just us, rambling on at each other. So it's good I think it's exciting to bring different guests and hear about their perspectives. And you were in Washington, D.C. as well, so I guess that's just how we'll start up by asking you about what you thought about it and your experience there.
So first, I completely agree with you guys. I was expecting it to be a march to the Capitol, like to the.
But we're not. Why are we just discounting it? Like we're talking.
We're being discounting it.
It was just
no. Yeah,
that was like the one expectation, the one thing that I kind of was expecting.
Yeah.
But it was so incredible, and I think anyone there can attest to that. How incredible it was to be a part of something so large and bigger than yourself.
Levi, let's talk about the rally itself, the speakers. What was the most meaningful speech, the most meaningful message to you that day?
So this is one of the only things that I remember from like this specific line. Someone said, I think she was, I'm not gonna lie, like at some point I started blanking out and I don't know who was saying what, but I'm pretty sure it was a woman who had some sort of family kidnapped and from Hamas, and she said something about, this is the line she said, is how do you change the world? You go home and you love your family. And I think it was just such an incredible line, because everyone, I think like right now it's really hard as a Jew to like kind of feel like you can make a difference, and that's something that's so simple that is so easy. And I think that's like the basis of who the Jewish people are, is like the sense of community. And I think that embodied to me what the rally was all about.
For me, I just looked up the name so I can make sure I didn't get the names wrong, but Rachel Goldberg, who is the mother of Hirsch Goldberg Poland, who is currently one of the 239 now hostages. She came out with a sticker like 39 because 39 days that her son and all the other hostages have been in captivity. I was moved by her speech because her son is a captive in Gaza, and she spoke about other hostages as well, specifically the student from Tanzania who unfortunately was just discovered dead yesterday. And I was just thinking the whole time after about how she, in her moment of on the stage where she had this time to speak about her son and everything, she spoke about so many other hostages as well those that, families of those hostages that can't speak out. So I was deeply moved by that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there were just so many speakers, so many people. But what really, struck me was, I mean, I guess the non-Jews who spoke for us too, because I think that's kind of really important right now is having our close allies, having allies right now that aren't in the Jewish community. So I would say just overall, them coming out, sticking up for us, really being there for us. That was really meaningful. People in, I guess, pop culture, in from Hollywood, also speaking out, just saying like, I'm Jewish, and people really aren't here for us, so we gotta like stick together and be together. Just seeing everybody from all different types of Jews, from all different types of lives, Orthodox, non-Orthodox, whatever you wanna be. Maybe you have no affiliation to like Judaism, and coming around and just being there together. It just shows like we really need to stick together in this. We really need to stick together and be proud to be Jewish, be proud for Israel. And yeah, that was just really amazing. And this whole thing was just so meaningful. And over the past couple of weeks, month, just watching all of the videos from like college campuses like Cornell, Princeton, Harvard, etc. The list goes on and on and on. And seeing all these pro-Palestinian marchers, not even pro-Palestinian, like you said, Levi, last week, anti-Israel, really anti-Jewish demonstrations, and seeing what these Jewish students have gone through, and seeing this on, last week in the D.C. march, and just seeing how united we are, and I hope it really gives these students from these universities some added strength to really just keep fighting and keep going, because I know it could be really disheartening sometimes when you see all these other demonstrations, and it's just so important. I mean, what do you guys feel about that?
So I want to say on your point about how you see like so many people are speaking out, I think it's so interesting, as I'm a modern Orthodox Jew, so all my life, everything that I do is kind of revolves around my Judaism. So that's something that I consciously think about every day. But you're seeing more now than ever people who are not necessarily they know they're Jewish, they understand it, but maybe they don't, and like they don't really identify with it as much. But you're seeing now more than ever people coming out and saying like, hey, I'm Jewish, and like these are my people. And I think that's so beautiful that like people are starting to identify with it more and like speak up about it more.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's amazing that people are being more conscious about their Judaism. Like a little story time for me, coming out of high school, I wasn't really connected with Israel. I wasn't really even so connected with being Jewish at that point. Like I loved my Jewish identity, but I didn't want that to be my thing. I wanted the outside, the work that I'm doing, to be my thing. But now with all this happening in the world, I want Judaism to be my thing, to be my identity. It doesn't have to be my only identity, but I want it to be a leading catalyst of my life. I just, for some reason, I kind of wanted to escape it a little bit, and just because sometimes I kind of felt like I wasn't even like a normal kid growing up, just being like, being in that Orthodox community, in that bubble, and I wanted to live like a life that didn't have to revolve around Judaism. But now that's all that I want right now. A huge factor is because of the unity in the Jewish community right now, and I'm just so proud of that. So what you said is hands down like extremely true, and I really resonate with that.
Okay, I'm gonna say something. Okay, first I'll start with the positivity. I thought the two Columbia students who spoke, I don't know their names off the top of my head. Wow, incredible speeches.
They were really good.
There were some other great speeches. I think Chuck Schumer, even though he messed up,
we love Chuck. No, Chuck's speech was hilarious. Yeah. Like, I mean, look, it wasn't like hilarious, but he's just such a funny speaker. He's like a sweet grandpa.
I thought his speech was good. Him. I thought a lot of speeches were good. I thought Van Jones's speech was good, even though
I don't know about that one.
People were upset about that.
Yeah, I don't know how I felt about that one.
Okay, the speech that I need to bring up because, there was this Pastor Hagee.
Dude.
I don't know if I'm saying this the right way. Okay, I'm gonna have to bring up a situation. Did anyone see what happened in Wisconsin yesterday?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so this is like kind of going off of what I was talking about last week, where I'm talking about how the horseshoe theory, like with the right and the left anti-Semitism. Now all the anti-Semitism is coming from the far left right now, predominantly, other than the random neo-Nazi march that just decided to spontaneously happen in Madison, Wisconsin yesterday. Yeah. This John Hagee guy, though, Pastor Hagee, I did a quick little dive on his Wikipedia and other sources, and I'm really honestly upset that he was allowed to speak at this, because he has some crazy views. He says that like the Holocaust is due to Jewish people disobedience of God, and the Antichrist will be homosexual and partially Jewish. Sounds great, by the way.
I had a bad vibe with him. I mean,
well, I just think it goes off of the idea of like the sort of politically homeless situation of the Jewish people right now, where it's like you cannot turn anywhere. You know, it's a very sad situation.
That's terrifying.
But the people who do stand up for us, it does make it more meaningful, I would say.
Of course, yeah.
Yep.
There could have been someone else. There could have been a different like
That's true.
No,
yeah.
I
religious figure that they could have picked. Yeah. Okay. Now if I can start to say some
Go off, Levi.
No. I'm going to
Levi,
just give like a quick little
It's time for you to
discussing the situation, the military situation right now, because this morning the Houthis, who we talked about last week, who just love to send missiles 2,000 kilometers away for like no reason.
We still gotta figure out how long that is in miles. I have no idea what kilometers.
I can't convert kilometers to miles, but yeah, the Houthis decided this morning that they would hijack a ship that's owned by an Israeli company. There were no Israelis aboard, but this is a major escalation. And I think, yesterday there was supposed to be a ceasefire protest outside of the local congresswoman's office here, Kat Kamek. And basically the ceasefire, going off of the ceasefire discussion that now is taking place in Gainesville, Harvey Ward signed a letter for ceasefire. So I'm sure Prime Minister Netanyahu has seen that now and is going to sign the ceasefire. No, I'm kidding.
Harvey Ward has a huge pull in the national in the world. So
yeah, Harvey Ward. But anyway, I don't think many people who call for the ceasefire are operating out of bad faith, but they are operating out of complete blindness and incoherence in a way. Talking about the Houthis right now, also from Lebanon, Hezbollah right now in the past week has been stepping up the attacks, and everyone I've spoken to who is currently on the northern border pretty much thinks this is going to happen eventually, no matter what.
That
they're going to like attack and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not like fear-mongering or anything, but this is like a terrorist organization that has like 100,000 members, which is Hamas has 40,000 members. They have a little less now, but they had 40,000 members. So this is like an attack by 3 different terrorist organizations right now. There's no other country where this would be a situation where calls for ceasefire would happen.
You know what? There's also no other country that there would be a situation like this and everyone is like sympathizing with terrorists.
Yeah.
Like that I think is the scariest part, is that like we're really like the ceasefire thing is insane to me. You literally know nothing about Israel and the situation if you think that a ceasefire makes sense.
Unless there is a ceasefire in which all the hostages are freed and the leaders of Hamas are handed over. Yeah.
On Israel's side, there's no ceasefire unless Hamas returns the hostages. And I hope, my fingers are crossed that that's what's going to happen, because that would be great for everyone. But like also people who are like calling for a ceasefire here, like what do you think is going to happen? Like you think anyone cares? Like
what do you mean?
Like for Gainesville City to call for a ceasefire?
Like you think that like protesting is going to make the Israeli government do anything? You know nothing about Israel. You know nothing about the situation, and it's like the most frustrating thing to me.
I think it's just that they want to show their presence here. They want to show that they're. I guess they just want to stoke like some kind of like. I don't even know how to phrase it.
You start from the local governments, and you put pressure on the
They want to get their, local officials to be like, hey, this is kind of crazy. Let's just try to see what we could do, like on like a higher and then higher and then higher and then higher level, and kind of go up from there. But, ceasefire. It's ridiculous. I mean, you're not gonna if America was attacked by like Mexico and there's like a terrorist organization in Mexico that was hidden in like under hospitals, under churches, under mosques, under all that stuff. They're not going to be calling for a ceasefire.
No, America was hit by a terrorist organization, and now people are sympathizing with Osama bin Laden, which is
ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
absolutely insane.
I saw someone this morning say like, because the Osama bin Laden letter is 2 pages long, and I saw someone say like, thank God that Mein Kampf is like a whole book, because these people don't have the attention span to read it.
Yeah.
It's like they're just perusing. Oh, what's this? Osama bin Laden's letter.
It's viral on TikTok. Like
And now they have decided that for anyone that didn't know, Osama bin Laden was a spoiled son of billionaires, and now they're gonna cancel Osama bin Laden again because he comes from royalty. So he's not the Robin Hood hero that they think he is.
Fine,
it's funny how in 2023 we have to re-cancel Osama bin Laden.
Uncanceled for 2 days, and now canceled again. So glad to see him go back into the cancel bin.
And it's funny because like I was listening about the speech, the letter to America letter on NPR today. Most of the speech is horrible. It's disgusting.
Really? The speech was some of it?
No, not the speech. Not the speech. I'm sorry. The letter. Most of the letter was just riddled with like Jews are controlling everything in America. And
did it say Jews or did it say Zionists? Because it's an important distinction. No, I'm kidding.
According to NPR, it said specifically Zionists. I'm too sick to my stomach to even read the letter. They're centering on this one part against Zionism, against Jews, and against all these things, and they're like taking it to heart. Be like, yo, like, Osama bin Laden's got a point, guys. Like, and it's so ridiculous. And this wouldn't happen about any other like terrorist. The only reason that it is happening is because this terrorist hates Jews and hates Israel.
But it's mainly on the TikTok, right? Are you guys on TikTok? I don't have.
I just
none of us
are TikTok actually.
Okay, so crazy things are going on TikTok. I don't know. Maybe we can have someone. Maybe next show we can have someone who's like big on TikTok to talk to us because I've never gone. What?
Does Shlomi have TikTok?
Definitely.
I don't.
TikTok.
Definitely.
Shlomi the Israel fellow. Shout out Shlomi.
I don't know anything about TikTok. I tried to avoid it, but everything I hear about it, bad news. That's all I hear is bad news.
Yeah, no. I don't know why anyone is still on it because like that's terrifying. Like that's like not a safe space when people are sympathizing with freaking Osama.
And I'm not scared about it because of like the whole China stuff. Like, because China's got to pull in everything. Like, who cares? It's just the straight up ridiculousness of it. I mean, like, just something they're saying, like the Osama bin Laden stuff and all this other crap about Israel. I mean, like, it just all this stuff is just makes me so sad and it's just so ridiculous. And yeah, Levi, go off again.
What I'm gonna go off on is that I saw someone make a point this morning. I was reading and they said, I don't know if radicalized is the right word, but what radicalized the Jewish community right now is not the October 7th attacks, but the reaction to them. And just this morning, my Twitter littered with articles. People are now pushing conspiracy theories about the music festival massacre. They are quoting an article by Haaretz, an Israeli newspaper, that has one source that says a few people at the festival were maybe killed by a helicopter. Of course, these people are running with the story and going, "Oh, Israel killed all of the people at the music festival with a helicopter." It's crazy. I guess we're like a month in, so now we can start to work on those conspiracy theories about how Hamas, who used the body cams to kill everyone, is not actually, they didn't actually do the festival. And there's, of course, a 45-minute film that a lot of senators, Congress people have screened.
Yeah.
Journalists have screened. Very respectable people have screened this film. And, of course, it is, people are calling it propaganda. Don't watch the Zionist propaganda film. Well, it's not a Zionist propaganda film. It's a Hamas propaganda film. They made the movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the situation.
I wish the world, besides for just the journalists, were able to see it. But I understand why they're not, because it emboldens the terrorists. It would cause more terrorism. It would just.
You mean if they release, if the footage was available online?
The whole reason why the footage isn't available online is because
respect to victims.
Respect to the victims, and also they don't want to embolden more terrorism from Hamas. They feel like it would be like a security threat.
Do you think are you insinuating it'll radicalize people in England or other countries to try to commit attacks if they watch this?
In around the world and further in Hamas, they're going to look at it and look at what we did. This is amazing. I mean, look
an ISIS situation.
Yeah, I mean, and look what happened after 10/7. People were celebrating all over the world, pro-Palestinian people were anti-Israel people were just celebrating all over the world, and it was ridiculous. So yeah, that's why they're not gonna release it.
Yeah. I noticed. Yeah, you switched to the anti-Israel because that was a main topic we talked about on our last podcast about that. None of these people.
It kind of gets mixed, but it really shouldn't be mixed. It is two separate things. So yeah, I just want to say just preface that.
The people that are at these protests, I've seen all the videos from them, and it's mind shattering how uneducated people are from
Yeah.
all different ages.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
think I was thinking, oh, it's just college students, but it's everyone. 40-year-old people, 50-year-old people.
Mhm.
How are you?
Yeah.
Where?
Most people have no idea what they're fighting for, and it's just the political activism kind of thing that people are going for, where you want to be right. You don't want to be canceled if you like you get shunned if you're pro-Israel by certain people, because it's the cancel culture is so real and it's so terrifying that like people are so terrified that they have to. I mean, I don't know. I think that a lot of people like. I don't know if that's the case for everyone, but like that's how I feel, is that a lot of people are probably being pushed into it because
You think that people are being pushed into attending the anti-Israel protests?
no. I think that people are like resonating with these ideas because they think, oh, everyone who I agree with is agreeing with this, so it must be right. Like it's also like your political identity as, let's say, like as a liberal. Like as a liberal, I agree with this and I agree with this, and the rest of the liberals are agreeing with it, so it must be right. I'm not going to look into it because they agree with me on these things, so they must agree on this too.
There's the party line.
It's the party line too.
But that's not the party line of the Democratic Party.
No, I mean,
but it is a sizable.
no, it's a fringe. It's a fringe of.
Well, it's
enough.
overrepresented.
it's enough.
It's underrepresented in the actual Senate and Congress, but it's overrepresented in terms of people.
No,
citizens.
so it happens to be that in Senate and Congress, it's a lot of establishment Democrats. Really on both sides. I would say more so on the Democratic side, it's a lot of establishment. And I think the young people, 30 and under, hate establishment. They really, really hate establishment, and they will follow the fringe. The fringe is pro-Palestine, anti-Israel rhetoric, straight up supports Hamas and what they did. So, yeah, they're going to follow the fringe because the fringe is what's cool, what's trendy, what's popular.
No, exactly.
And
You don't know what you're.
Well,
don't
do you
know.
see the trend? If you see it as a trend, do you see the trend going away and then rising when the next thing? How long do you expect these people to have the focus on this war? Because this war is going to go on for a while.
Yeah, no, that's what I think about too, is that most of these people who know nothing and have no connection to this issue, it's just kind of a way to speak out, just on like several other issues where you've seen them in the past speaking out. I don't know how I don't know how much they're going to actually continue with this, because they don't actually understand what they're fighting for. And if you did, then you would be consistent with your values.
well, Molly, I kind of want to ask. I want to go back to like the main topic of this episode, which is like how this impacts like college students. This whole rally. Molly, tell our listeners about the things that you've been doing on campus to help support Israel and support the whole struggle here with this war. And then I wanted you to go into what you think this whole rally, how will this affect college students? How will this empower pro-Israel, Zionist college students around the world?
So on campus, I organized a group to put up the kidnap posters, and I think that it raised a lot of awareness, which is so important. And that's the goal of it, is to raise awareness. And thank God, from there, like there have been more done. Like the display was put up, which is super nice. And like I literally sat on a bench and I watched as people walk through the aisles, which is super nice to watch.
The display for the hostages.
Yeah,
right?
the hostages with like I think it was 239 chairs they put up, and every chair had the face and the story of a hostage, which is super nice because like it was in a very public area on our campus where you can't miss it. So it was interesting to watch. Like I felt like I was a guard dog because I was sitting there, like I was not doing any work. I had my laptop but I was not doing any work, and I was watching people react to it. And it was interesting to see like even some people that I knew like either like walk by and pretend like you don't see it. You can't like not see it, so you're actively ignoring it, or like you're looking at it or you take a picture. So I thought that was super interesting, but I think that right now the only thing that we can do, especially like we're all journalists, is because a lot of this war is on media, that's how we fight it. This is like what you guys are doing with this podcast is you're fighting the anti-Israel media by giving a new perspective. And I think that that's what a lot of people need, is like a lot of people don't understand what that means to be pro-Israel, and they don't understand what it means, like what the opinions mean, where it comes from. So I think you guys are doing a great job with this podcast. That's like,
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you. We very much appreciate that.
yeah. I think that makes me think a lot about like the media in general, and I don't know if you guys are having this identity crisis too at the time, but it's
yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
it's like super scary to see people that you respect and people that you look up to in the field be so like distorted and put away from the issue. And I think that also makes me think about, like, I know that as journalists and as reporters, you're supposed to report on issues that you don't necessarily know about, but you should do a little research before you do it. And like, I'm watching people misrepresent the issues because they really don't understand it, and like that makes me think about what it means to be a journalist and what it means to represent certain issues.
Yeah, well, I want to kind of touch on your point there. Being a journalist, right? I mean, there's a few things that like kind of really affected me. Well, one, being a journalist, I kind of, at least in the start, kind of was desensitized with all this, because as a journalist, you kind of want to be in like, you want to have like a steady head. You want to make sure that you're not getting too emotional about certain things. Yeah. And I wasn't too emotional about it at first. And it really...
Oh, you weren't too emotional?
I wasn't too emotional.
Oh, okay.
And really it took maybe like a few days, a week to really and see what people have been posting. It was more the aftermath of and how people responded. And I realized I need to be emotional about this, because if no one else is emotional about this, like who, or if most of the world isn't emotional about this, who else is going to be emotional about this? As a journalist, it's hard, but you're allowed to be an advocate. Yeah. You're allowed to be someone who advocates for your cause, no matter if the majority of people are not on your side. And yeah, like that does mean that you won't be able to cover certain things, and you will have to kind of like separate yourself from work and from activism. But yeah, it was crazy. That's crazy. And seeing all these people Jewish reporters who were just like showing like, all right, here's what AP talked about, or here's what New York Times talked about. So desensitized. It's so sad and so ridiculous. And even going to the march, right? There was this thing like, oh, I'm a journalist, and this will be an amazing, amazing story. But the self-restraint, I had to be like, no, this isn't what I'm here for. Yeah. I'm here for my love, to be united with the Jewish people, for united against anti-Semitism, against, to be united for Israel. I just had to be present. Mm-hmm. Sometimes as a journalist, you don't, it's hard because everything's like a story opportunity for you, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, gotta get that story in, gotta like show myself, gotta like, do this, do that. Sometimes you gotta just be like, there's things that are bigger than journalism, even though journalism I feel is so important, but there's some things that you just need to step away from and just be an activist.
I think that we also, as you were saying, that like we should be emotional about it. I think we have the obligation to. Like, I remember having this conversation with you right before we were going. We were saying, "Oh, are you reporting? Are you reporting?" And we're both like, "No, like we can't be reporting right now. Like this is just not something that like it's important to have be able to take a break away." The thing I wanted to also speak about was the fact that because we're in America and we're so far away from the issue, and thank God I know that we all have had the opportunity to visit Israel, and one, it's such a blessing. But I think what is such a big problem is that because we're so far away, the narrative gets changed and shifted so fast, and people don't really understand it because you've never seen it. And I think that's also something is like, how could you report on something, and how could you actually like unbiasedly report on something when you haven't actually seen what's going on? And I know that we all have been to Israel, so we're able to understand the Jewish people. We're able to understand the issue that's going on in a different way than people who are just reading it through news or through the textbook or whatever research you do. And I think that that's something that's so scary, is that like the narrative is getting changed so much because we're so far away and we're so far from it that people don't understand what's actually going on.
Yeah, 100%. Levi, you want to add something to that?
I agree to an extent with what you said. I do think that being able to travel places is definitely going to give you the most knowledge on a situation, but I think you can educate yourself. I have a problem with so much of the people are always telling me like, oh, like there's so much, like I just can't deal with it. Like there's so much misinformation. And then there's like, like I'm just going to give up. Like, what is that? Like, you're telling me,
it's ridiculous.
Like, there's a topic and everyone's talking about it on the media, and you're just like I can't, like, I've read and I just can't do it. You need to, I mean, do I sound old if I'm telling you to, like, read a book?
No, you're not sounding
I'm
old.
being so serious. Please read a book.
Let me tell you a story.
Read one book.
Let me tell you a story right now.
Okay.
I was near the Chabad table. It was right before the first kind of, like, unity thing, thing that we had in Charlington Plaza. This guy, He was kind of like oldish, maybe like he seemed like maybe like 60s, 70s. He comes up, he's like talking with like Rabbi Aaron Notek. Shout out Rabbi Aaron Notek, we love you. Shout out. He talking to Rabbi Aaron Notek, and he's like, and he was like, and, you know, like asking like, don't you think like Israel is like doing like in the wrong for a lot of the things that they've been doing, whatever. By the end of the conversation, he would just be like, you know, I can't educate myself on this. It's too complicated. Yeah, it's very complicated, but that doesn't mean you can't educate yourself and put in the dedication to really understand the conflict. Here's my problem here. College students, and look, I love being in college. College is amazing. There's some amazing people here. College students, a lot of them are lazy. Let's just I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm very lazy,
College
actually.
students are lazy, and they do not really do the research contextually, and they just look at like straight numbers and they're like, okay, wrong, right. It's so ridiculous. And I think that's the reason why there is so much misinformation and why so many college students around the country are just part of this one evil side. They see these numbers out of context and they disregard any of the other information, and they do not seek for the real knowledge. I think college students think that they are so high and mighty. They think that they are so on top of the world that they are above society because they're in a college campus, in like a top college campus. Like, look how great I am. I got to Harvard. I got into Cornell. I got into Princeton, whatever. I know more. I'm definitely in the right about everything without even doing any research, any further explanations and context. It's so ridiculous. And I mean, like, it's so disheartening. Like you guys are saying, it's either it's too complicated, I'm not going to do any research, or I'm already smart enough, so I won't do any research.
I don't think there's any situation in which someone who has no dog in the fight per se should be radicalized by a conflict that doesn't involve them. I think if you truly did your research and you you read books from viewpoints from both sides, like you would read. I can't think of like some famous Israeli author of. Can you bring someone up?
Yeah, Noah Tishby. She has a book called The Brief History of Israel. I'm pretty sure that's what the title is.
No, but like I mean, just like from like historical like archives, sort of things like that. Yeah, like just read like Prime Minister, like I don't know what books to read. Just read like a biography of like Yitzhak Rabin or something like that, or read Palestinian like Edward Said, if you know who that is, who I guess is like considered like the leading intellectual Palestinian writer. He passed away like 15, 20 years ago. You would probably just come to the conclusion that you should believe in a two-state solution. I don't know where this is coming from, where there is like some sort of radicalization of I do know where it's coming from, but it's very puzzling to me.
Yeah, guys, we're running a little long, so I kind of want to wrap up a little bit.
Okay.
Do you have anything else to say? Do you have any other notes in there?
Yeah, actually, I do. Okay, I'm gonna
go ahead, Levi.
I'm gonna go full nerd. I'm gonna go full nerd right now because I've written down a quote that is very. Hopefully, this isn't too what's the word, like bougie or whatever, to like bring quotes like this. Yeah. But do you guys know who Hannah Arendt is?
Of course, I know Hannah Arendt.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about her.
So my dad's a big Hannah Arendt fan.
Okay.
Hannah Arendt fan. My dad named my sister after Hannah Arendt.
Are you being serious?
I promise.
Oh my God.
That's wild.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like a very Hannah Arendt is. I'm a very big fan of her work.
Are you gonna name your child after Hannah Arendt?
No, I don't know if I would go that far. But she has a really good book called, fun title, The Origins of Totalitarianism. Really fun read if you're like a loser who likes learning about brutal dictatorships. Anyway, she writes. I saw a quote from her that was brought up the other day. Evil comes from a failure to think. It defies thought. For as soon as thought tries to engage itself with evil and examine the premises, principles from which it originates, it's frustrated because it finds nothing there. If I could like break down that quote, I think it pretty much just puts into perspective all of the protests that we see, because it's like you were saying a buzzword, you were saying random like zombie, like you're just like a zombie. You're like, globalize the intifada, decolonization is not a metaphor, and it's like, what are you talking about?
And half the people there don't even know what the intifada is, probably.
Yeah, intifada, not fun. I globalize the intifada. So the intifada, for those who do not know, was there were two intifadas, one in 1987 and one in 2002 it started. It was just a period of time where there were suicide bombings on Israelis. It would happen every week. Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, everywhere, someone would get blown up. And then after that was when the wall was built in the West Bank. So, yeah, globalize the intifada. That's just a call for
the death of Jews.
Yes. Okay. I want to come back to the Washington rally, march, whatever you want to call it. So this was historical, and going off the Intifada. So there have been 3 marches, Jewish protests that have been like this large in history, in U.S. history. And the first one was in 1987. The second one was in 2002. It was during the second Intifada. Like 100,000 American Jewish people protested. In 1987, there was 250,000 people protesting in Washington, D.C. for the release and the freedom of Soviet Jewry. Natan Sharansky was who we just saw Tuesday, which was
really cool.
What a moment.
That was amazing.
What a moment. He spoke in 1987 at that protest. He spent 9 years in prison in the Soviet Union, and then was released and became a politician, a human rights activist. So to see him speak on Tuesday, I should have said that before. That was a really big moment for me to witness this history. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to end with that.
All right, and just to wrap up the podcast, I just want each of us to kind of, what's your message to Jewish college students around, not just, I guess, the nation, but around the country after this, right? You go to this rally, the largest gathering of Jews in American history. What's the message to college students? What should college students feel right now? What should we kind of let Jewish college students around the country know? And yeah, I mean, like, Molly, let's start off with you, our special guest.
I would say to be loud and proud. I think it's not in response to people, because I think it's really difficult to be facing these people and trying to have a conversation with people who are not open to it. I think being loud about what you believe in and fighting for Israel, and not necessarily fighting against protesters or people who are pro-Palestine, but fighting for Israel, that's what we did at the march. That's what we continue to do. Fighting for something, being loud about it, and being proud, and understanding what you're fighting for, I think is so important.
Yeah, I'm not a big rally guy in general. I went to the rally just because, number one, for the hostages. Number two, for just thinking about all my friends and family living in Israel. And then number three, I think just for anti-Semitism that we've seen globally. Mm-hmm. And that's the only reason I went, just for like that uplifting feeling that I received. And I think it was important to show out in such big numbers to show our voices. So I think just continuing to do that is great. Positivity when you can, and engaging in thought when there are people who can engage in thought with you, I know you said it's impossible, because they're not impossible, but there are many people, unfortunately, who are unable to engage in thought for various reasons, but just have to keep looking for those people who will engage in thought.
No, I definitely agree with you on that point. I want to make sure that it's known that I believe that when you engage, you shouldn't engage with people who are not open to engaging. Yeah. It's completely draining to be trying to have a conversation and talk to people who are completely closed off to it. And I think it's so important to talk to people who are open.
It's like when I see on our campus, there's always like the dude screaming about like everyone is going to hell and everything, and like
you can't
all the people circle around him and like talk to him and ask him questions.
You're not getting anything.
You're giving it fire. You're adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
Don't add fuel to the fire.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. And what I would say to college students around the country, look at this rally. Look how many people came. Look how many people came up for you, for the Jewish people, against anti-Semitism, to support Israel. Look at that, because you're not alone. You're not alone in this. And I know it's scary. It's hard. You've been through a lot. You've been through so much BS right now. As Michael Rappaport he's always fiery.
I love
He's
Michael
always
Rappaport.
A fiery dude. Shout out Michael Rappaport.
Shout out Michael.
Wait, can we have him as the next guest?
Dude, if he comes in, that would be sick.
I might DM him and ask him.
Michael, we want you. We want to talk to you. Oh, we love you, man. Anyways, look at what you just saw, and I want you to really look at the type of way that the people on our side rally, and look at the way the other side rallies. Understand you are on the right side of history. I know it's hard because you might see all these people on your campus, students, teachers, faculty. They're all protesting against you. So you might think, maybe I am on the right side of the wrong side of history.
This is an important point for those who feel isolated. Like if they're in a college with their not many Jewish friends.
100%. You might feel isolated. You might have those doubts. Don't let those doubts consume you, because you are on the right side of history. Look at what just happened in D.C. Be empowered by that. Don't let down because some idiots at your college campus are spewing some BS.
Yeah.
Be empowered. We are here for you all over the country. You belong, and we want you to make sure that you don't stop fighting, because you guys really in America, you guys are on the front lines. You Jewish students in Cornell, in Harvard, all these other places, you guys are on the front lines in America. Keep going, because you guys are doing a great job, and you should not back down. Molly, we want to thank you so much for joining our podcast. You are amazing. You're an amazing friend to me, and you are so insightful, and you do some good work. Molly,
Thank you.
Again, tell us about An Aural Account, where we could find you.
You can find me on any podcast streaming service except for probably Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. And you can follow the Instagram at An Aural Account.
Can you spell an oral
Yes.
an oral, because there's multiple orals and we got to make sure that we got the right one.
Oh yeah.
Yes. It's ANAURALACCOUNT.
Guys, everyone, check out her podcast. Check out, all of Molly Seghi's work, not just on her podcast, but in the Alligator, and soon to be all over the world. Guys, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for listening to last week's podcast. We really enjoyed the support. We've been getting people come out to us and say, hey, like Levi, tell us what happened last night.
Oh my God! Last night I was out at the bars, and all these kids, shout out ZBT, great fraternity, came up to me, and they all told me that they listened to the podcast. They loved the podcast.
So nice.
I love to hear it. I really want people to listen to the podcast, and I really want people to be more active with the podcast.
Absolutely.
Tell me, please respond. Please give me comments, ask questions, because last time it's hard for me to compartmentalize my thoughts sometimes, especially on this. But I write a few notes, but sometimes it gets hard, and I get out of whack and bring up terms people don't understand. So tell me if I'm doing a bad job explaining things. Ask me to explain things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Same for me. I'm gonna post this on Twitter, on Instagram and everything. Just give me a comment. Send me a DM, whatever. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your voice, like we said last time, guys.
Thank you so much. Have a great time.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.
Have a great rest of your day.
All right, guys. Peace out.